Right, here we go. How do I know if I'm struggling with cortisol issues? I feel like I might have an issue with cortisol, the stress hormone. How do I know if this is exactly what it is? Is it something else? Or is it something and this? So many questions that I've gotten around this recently in terms of cortisol. So I wanted to do an entire video dedicated to this, to things to look for that potentially might mean that you do have a cortisol issue. Now, when we're talking about cortisols, and we talk about my favorite way to test Dutch test, right? My favorite way to test this is because you actually get your cortisol levels throughout the day, your free cortisol, which is the bioavailable stuff that your systems, your tissues actually use here. And it also checks your metabolized cortisol, which gives us an indicator of how your adrenals are functioning here, right? So it tests multiple things related to cortisol, not just, oh, it's one salivary cortisol measurement throughout the day, that type of a thing. I am Dr. Beth Westy, women's health and hormone expert, author of the books, The Female Fat Solution, The Female Menopause Solution. These are on Amazon. Fantastic resources all about how to eat for your hormones and your cycle. So talking about cortisol, and I have a whole section on stress and cortisol and everything else in those books. But big things to really focus on here when you're looking at this is really taking a look at how you're doing. That's a big indicator. Yes, we can tell by the tests. Yes, we can look at that stuff. Absolutely. But a lot of times people wonder, is this necessary? Do I really need to get a test? Do I have to? Is that important? Right? Well, here we go. If you have, you wake in the morning and you're not rested, that is an indicator that you have a cortisol issue. You wake up in the morning and you're like, I feel like a zombie. I feel terrible. Ugh. That's a big, big red flag right there. You don't have no consistent energy throughout the day. No consistent energy throughout the day. So you might feel okay mid-morning, but then you crash so hard, like if you sat down in the afternoon, you would fall right asleep. Right? Fall right asleep. You cannot maintain energy levels throughout the day. That's a big red flag right there. Your sleep pattern is disrupted. That's another big thing right there too. It might be hard to get to sleep. You might wake frequently throughout the night. Yes, your cortisol patterns throughout the day are connected to your circadian rhythms. I know. That's why I'm talking about sleep and energy and rest a lot right now. Big things there. And then, of course, our favorite, the belly fat. Belly fat accumulation, and then the inability to lose it no matter what. Huge sign that there is a cortisol issue going on. Also, not being able to build muscle like you used to. There was somebody, this was a little bit ago. There's a gal I was chatting with, and she was a semi-pro athlete. Very, very fit, very, very in shape, right? And she was like, I've been an athlete my whole life. And she was in her 30s. And she's like, I don't know what's going on right now, but in the last 6 months, I have not been able to hit these training markers. I have not been able to, increase my speed, increase my endurance, she was a distance athlete, an endurance athlete. And she's like, no matter what I do, I've been changing up my training routine. I've been changing up this and that, my nutrition, all these things. She was going after all this other stuff, trying to target something that she was doing to help her for performance. Cause she's like, no matter what I'm doing, it's not changing. And we took a look, at her Dutch report, at what her cortisols were doing. And I was like, this is why your body's not responding. This is why. So we really focused on cortisol levels and shifted things from there for her. Made all the difference in the world. It's not an overnight fix. It's something that takes time and everything else. But she was able to get to a point where she started to see the difference in her muscle building capability and her performance. Because that was another thing too. She's like, when I'm, in my preseason, when I'm getting ready for a performance or a race, she's like, I definitely lean out and I get a little more muscle on me, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I haven't had that happen before any of my races, and my performances are, really being impacted. That's a big deal. That's a really big deal for somebody, right? So these are big signals that you would have a cortisol issue. So what do we do about this? what do we do about this? So how do we target this? It depends on where your levels are at. So I never like to throw out just general recommendations unless it's something that like everybody can benefit from. Adaptogens, right? That is something that is fantastic. Like saying eating a lot of protein, eating, less processed food or sugars. Yes, right? A lot of those basic things can be helpful. But what I find is that, especially with cortisol issues, if we're not looking at exactly what your levels are, sometimes there can be recommendations that are actually not helpful for people. So I always like to make those recommendations specifically for you, but these are the things to look for. If you're like, oh my gosh, I've got 4 out of 5 of these. Yes, you're going to want to get your levels looked at. You're going to want to do something about it, right? So make sure you're going in the comments here and getting on the wait list for the next program that I have, Female Hormone Solution Program. The next program that we're doing is a 6-month program, and it allows for the time frame to really take care of a lot of these issues because it can be so frustrating for people. It can be exhausting to try thing after thing after thing. And maybe you're like, okay, if I push myself really hard, I can decrease my belly fat a little bit, but I can't build muscle and I'm still exhausted. Or, man, I don't even care about the belly fat anymore. I gotta sleep. Yeah. These are some of the main things to look at for you to make sure that we're targeting the right thing and moving in the right direction. We never want to leave things missed. We never want to do the wrong thing. You know what I mean? We never want to miss out on that. So it's always should be specific. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about, of course, are what else can I do for this? I have a tincture for adrenal balance. This is a fantastic thing to add in, layer in, that's going to help your cortisol and adrenal levels. And then my tinctures for estrogen and progesterone. These are on the Nutrition for Your Hormones website, but great things to add in as well. Other resources, if you're looking for them, I have my YouTube channel, which is called Dr. Beth Westy, where you can subscribe to stay updated on all the videos I have coming out, as well as my podcast, The Female Health Solution. So that's what I got for you guys tonight. Let me know if you have any other questions. Let me know if you're like, yes, please dive into, the muscle building piece more, or I want to know more about belly fat and cortisol. Leave me a comment and I am more than happy to do a whole video deep diving into one of the topics that I have covered. So I will see you guys later. Have a great rest of your night.